This is the video made because of the 100 subscriber milestone. This video marks the first one where I talk about a question that has been plaguing me, since I can't seem to find the answer to it no matter how hard I think about it. The question itself is, will there be a point where no more Warframes will be implemented? This is a difficult question to answer for a multitude of reasons. Since Warframe's release date, we have gotten a stream of new content and new Warframes, bringing us to a total of 28 Warframes including Nezha. You might be thinking, if we have continuously received new content and Warframes over the years, why should there be any sign of stopping? You'd be right there. With the brilliant concepts on the Warframe forums and Digital Extreme's creative limits when it comes to Warframes, there seems to be no sign of a permanent halt to frame development. However, remember that the question isn't can DE come up with new frame ideas? It's can DE create new methods of obtaining frames without overcrowding the game. Allow me to explain. Let's say that 2 years from now, we have 40 total Warframes. That would mean we have 12 new Warframes that are obtainable by clan research, boss fights, random drops, etc. With our current Starmap, we have no room for new frame parts to drop from planet bosses anymore, so DE's only options are to stuff the new frame behind a quest, or behind a time wall. Here lies one of the problems of new Warframes. There is so little room for Warframe parts to drop that the only way to fit new Warframes in is by locking them behind clan research, once-a-day end-game content, and mission types that most people normally don't run. This is why it's imperative for DE to complete Starmap 3.0 as soon as possible. We know that the void will be blown up when Starmap 3.0 arrives, and we know that Starmap 3.0 will be made so it looks like the Tenno themselves charted the map. This can potentially fix the lack of areas for new frame parts to drop. DE can simply create a brand new region or tile set that the Tenno have recently explored and place multiple frames in that tile set that can be obtained from fighting a specific boss or killing enemies in hopes of getting a drop. Not only would this fit with the Tenno exploration theme of Starmap 3.0, but it would also expand the game, location-wise and frame-wise. Now let's consider another part of the problem, Mastery Rank. As you all know, Mastery Rank signifies how much content a player has experienced. However, according to the Warframe wiki, the highest possible Mastery Rank is Grandmaster, which is rank 30. You might say that it's safe to assume that this confirms that there will be a limit on how many Warframes are put into the game, because after all, there's no point in creating new Warframes if your players have reached the level cap you have placed, unless you simply raise the level cap. However, there are two things to notice about this. First off, it's not even possible to obtain Mastery Rank 30 at the moment. Currently the highest possible Mastery Rank a player can reach is 21, which is 70% of the way to Mastery Rank 30. By the time it's possible to reach Mastery Rank 25, we'll have a crapton of new content to play around with, Warframes included. Secondly, there's always the possibility that DE will simply change or outright remove Mastery Rank from the game. Mastery Rank is a system that not everyone in the game likes, and considering how much content DE would have to create in order to make it possible to reach Mastery Rank 30, it would probably be better for the players and less time-consuming to just remove Mastery Rank. Now you might be thinking, well, if DE has no intention of removing Mastery Rank, then surely we'll get a metric fuckton of new Warframes to help get to Mastery Rank 30 faster. You'd be right there, but that goes back to my earlier point about Starmap 3.0. Until Starmap 3.0 is put into the game, there simply isn't any room for frame parts to be placed, unless DE decides to place every future frame behind a quest, research, or time wall. At this point, you might think that simply placing new Warframes in clan research would fix the issue of no room. After all, DE can place absolutely anything they want behind clan research, and considering how less than 5 frames are obtainable through research, that seems like an optimal solution, right? That leads me to another problem about new Warframes, player enjoyment. Yes, it's absolutely great to receive new Warframes, and yes, it's absolutely great to give clans greater purpose, But stuffing more and more content behind clans leaves all the casual players in the dust. Catering all efforts into developing content that can only become available to you if you join a clan that has the content researched means that if you're a player who isn't in a clan for whatever reason, you're shut out of a large chunk of game content, and thus, your highest possible mastery rank is reduced. Doing this silently forces the player to join a clan if they want to keep leveling, otherwise they lose out on using new weapons and frames. In addition, the player base wouldn't exactly be happy to receive multiple warframes that take time to research, time to gather alertium, and time to build. Think of it like this: what if DE put in 4 new warframes that were all obtained the exact same way as Wukong? Would you consider that fun? If your head hurts from all this, now you understand why this question is so difficult to answer. Regardless, post your thoughts if you have any possible answer to this. Thank you for watching.